Well, the Sochi Winter Olympics were the most expensive to date, as well as the most politicized. Earlier, I spoke to sports analyst Mike Bako to find out how well Russia hosted the games.
I think Russia did pretty well when you consider how what the perception was going into the Olympics. Certainly, the Ring of Steel going around trying to combat terrorism. There were some real fears. Could we actually trust the Russian government, the Russian police, the government officials to keep this Olympics secure? Thankfully, at least from a terrorist standpoint, the games were secure, the games were safe, and they went off without major incident inside of Sochi related to the Olympics. Certainly, there are things that are going on outside of Sochi and Russia and in Ukraine specifically that has gotten the world's attention. But as far as the Olympics are concerned, they pulled it off without incident.
Let's talk about the politics surrounding this. This was a real get for Russian President Vladimir Putin. We had guests here on CCTV who said it was an interesting choice to allow Russia to host the games. But he did release some anti-government protesters before the games began, really trying to show the world that he is forward-thinking. Has his image been upgraded since the games?
I think it's a draw. I think you look at some of the things that he did before the Olympics, certainly a check mark in his column. Check mark in his column in terms of pulling off these Olympics without incident, as we were just discussing. But you also have to look at what was going on just on the periphery of the Olympics. Certainly the treatment of the protest band Pussy Riot. Some may say they brought it upon themselves, but certainly putting the spotlight on them, they were not treated too well. When you look at the Olympics overall, it was an interesting choice to have it in Russia, in Sochi, which probably has more palm trees and more synonymous with being a beach resort than a host venue for the Winter Olympics. There were some warm days, temperatures that produced not the best ski conditions, but overall they pulled it off well. Overall, I think Putin can look at this, and while not an A-plus effort, he could certainly look at it and say that they come across as a proud Olympic host.
That's right. The American press, at least, had a lot of fun talking about the colored water. There was a story of a wolf wandering the halls in one of the hotels. We saw a lot of funny stories coming out of there, but overall, $50 billion. This will definitely go down as the most expensive. And overall, do you think from a structural standpoint, it was a hit?
I think it was a hit in terms of what Putin wanted to do in terms of restructuring what this city is known for. The real key, and it's a real key and a real challenge with almost every Olympic city that hosts an Olympics, is what happens after the games are gone. All of the infrastructure, all the billions of dollars, $50 billion, that's just the number that's being reported for these Sochi games. Whether it's even more than that, that's going to be the question that will probably come out over the next few years or so. But what happens with this city? Is it going to be transformed into this destination where it'll be a vibrant city going forward and not just a resort town? That's going to be the challenge for these Olympics, and it's been a challenge for past Olympics like in Atlanta here in the U.S., certainly in Beijing, what has become of those cities after the game. So that's going to be the challenge for Putin's government and for Sochi going forward.
Well, about 1,000 protesters gathered in Brazil's biggest metropolis of Sao Paulo, demonstrating